If you ever looked for information of how to make your sex life more fulfilling, I can guarantee you came across information of how to make it more exciting. Now, exciting sex is exactly what it sounds like. It's exciting, but it's not necessarily more satisfying. The thing that would make your sex life more satisfying is actually understanding how to make it meaningful. And this is exactly what I'm going to explain in this video. But first, I want to talk a little bit about our brain structure, because this is how we're going to understand how come something makes sex more meaningful. So if we look at our brain, the most basic part of it, the part that is responsible for survival, is something that is called the reptilian brain. And we share the same structure with reptiles. Part of the things that that area is responsible of is procreation. Now the other part of the brain which I wanted to mention here is the mammalian part, which, as you rightfully guessed, we share with other mammals. This part of the brain is responsible for social interactions and a lot of behaviors that we would interpret as being caring and loving towards other individuals. So if you understand that a lot of the sex advice that you come across, they mainly focus on satisfying your reptilian brain, there's no wonder that something still feels lacking. It's because you still need to address that part of the brain which is more evolved, which is the mammalian brain. Now there's also another part of the brain which is the thinking brain, the neocortex part of the brain, which is unique to us as humans. But I'm not going to go into that in this video because from my understanding and from my work with many individuals, as long as we address the mammalian part of the brain while having sex, we are going to enjoy a long-lasting effect of satisfaction. It's not going to be just a one-off, fully excitement and then a feeling of something that's a little bit missing. It's actually going to be sustainable, it's going to be loving, and you can keep on doing it and feel fully satisfied. Now I need to be really clear. There is nothing wrong with having extremely exciting, extremely powerful sex. Something that fully looks into your reptilian brain and works on it. However, when we are looking at long-term happiness, we want to be able to utilize both parts of the brain quite equally and not only focus on one. That's when we're going to start feel dissatisfied, and that's where we're going to feel like something is lacking. So now it's time to ask ourselves, how can we have sex in a way that supports both the reptilian part of our brain and the mammalian part of the brain more or less equally? In order to do that, I wanted to discuss two really important chemicals in our brain. So one is dopamine, the other one is oxytocin. Dopamine is that chemical in our brain that is responsible for short-term happiness. The way it works is something like that. We start craving something, we crave it more and more and more until we get it. And when we finally get it, we feel at ease. We feel like we can relax, or in other words, we feel happy. But it only lasts for a very short amount of time before we feel a craving for something new again. And then again, it builds up until we get it, we feel happy, and then we need something new to get excited about. This is probably the reason why a lot of sex advisors, they recommend in a long-term relationship to bring novelty into the bedroom, because that keeps that excitement alive. That works on the dopamine of the reward circuitry of the brain. Now, obviously, there's nothing wrong with it as long as we pair it with the long-term happiness chemical, which is the oxytocin. So the oxytocin is responsible for long-term happiness, And this is the chemical that we get by developing strong, safe relationship with people. It comes when we touch people in a way that is very, very safe as opposed to exciting. When you gather all this information, it's quite easy to come to the conclusion that when you have sex that is mainly focused on the excitement, on the fast-paced, on the novelty, you will very quickly realize that something is still lacking. You might be fulfilled on the spot for a few minutes or a little bit more, but you won't have that feeling of long-lasting satisfaction. And yes, meaningful sex is sex that contributes to your long-term happiness, your long-term satisfaction. The way it's practiced is by introducing a lot more caressing, slow, firm touches while you love making, while you're having sex. If you want to learn more about meaningful sex and about how to make love in a way that is truly wholeheartedly fulfilling, please go to my website makeloverevolution.com and get your free e-course that will teach you exactly that. How to have wholeheartedly fulfilling, satisfying sex life.